Welcome back once again, all of my low carb friends, and for those of you who are here for the first time, a big welcome to you. Today I have a super easy recipe for all of you chocolate candy lovers. Today we are going to learn how to make a super easy Keto Butterfinger bar substitute. Now if you've ever had a Butterfinger bar, you know that it's chocolate and peanut butter, but don't worry, if you have nut allergies, we have nut-free options. I'm also going to show you how to make a super quick keto honey substitute that I use in this recipe, and you can use in any recipe that calls for honey. And if you want printable versions of these, you can check out my website at janetsdeliciouslowcarbkitchen.com. You can find printable versions of these and other goodies there for you. And if you're new to the channel and you want to see lots of easy, delicious, low-carb keto recipes, make sure you click that subscribe button and click the notification bell that's right next to the subscribe button. That way you can be notified every time I put out a new video on Wednesdays and Saturdays. And if you'd like to help support the channel, make sure you scroll down in the description of the video. You'll see some Amazon affiliate links. Anytime you purchase anything using those Amazon affiliate links, a small portion will go to me and will help to support the channel. So, anytime you want to shop on Amazon for anything, make sure you remember me, use my affiliate link, and a small portion of your purchase will go to help support the channel. And while you do all that, let's get cooking. Line an 8 by 4 inch loaf pan with parchment paper. Allow the paper to hang over the sides because you'll be using these as handles. In a small saucepan over medium heat, combine 2.5 tablespoons of my keto honey substitute. And if you want to know how to make that, make sure you stick around to the end of the video and I'll show you how to make my honey substitute. Very easy. Add 1.5 tablespoons of golden monk fruit or brown sugar sweetener of your choice. Whisk these together until they're fully combined. Then continue to whisk these constantly until your mixture comes to a low boil. This shouldn't take very long at all. For me, it took about 3 minutes for it to come to a low boil. You're just looking for bubbles just starting to form in your mixture. Once the mixture has come to a low boil, then let it simmer for about 1 minute. Make sure you whisk it constantly while it is simmering. You do not want the bottom of your mixture to scorch, so make sure you are constantly whisking it. Add a 1/2 cup of creamy peanut butter, or if you're allergic to nuts, you could use seed butter. Pumpkin seed butter or sunflower seed butter have the best taste and texture when it comes to this recipe. Stir these together until everything is fully combined and your mixture is smooth. Make sure your mixture is smooth. You want to make sure that all of your sweetener has fully dissolved. Once it's all combined, remove the mixture from the heat and scoop the peanut butter mixture into a medium mixing bowl. Gradually fold in about a 1/2 cup of crushed pork rinds. You don't want your pork rinds to be crumbs. You do want them to be crushed down fairly small, but you don't want them to be crumbs. So just crush them up until they are in small pieces, and you'll need about a 1/2 cup. Make sure you gradually fold them in. If you need to, as you fold them in, you can take your wooden spoon and crush them up a little bit more. You're looking to have a textured center, so you don't want it to be completely smooth, but you also don't want it to have huge lumps. If you don't have pork rinds, you can leave the pork rinds out, or you can substitute them out for a 1/2 cup of crushed keto pretzels or crushed keto crackers. You're wanting to give your center a little bit of a crunch is what the objective is here. If you've ever had a Butterfinger bar, they have a very slight crunch in the middle of it, and so the pork rinds give them that extra crunch. But as I said, you can also use crackers or pretzels. They won't have the exact same texture, but it will give you a textured center. So fold in the pork rinds or crackers or pretzels, whatever you're using. Fold them in until they're fully coated with the peanut butter mixture. Allow the mixture to cool just slightly, just a couple minutes, just until it's cool enough that you can put your fingers in it and not burn your fingers. Then gradually add in about 2.5 tablespoons more of the honey substitute. Now you want to add this just a little bit at a time. I usually just add a 1/2 tablespoon, then stir it in, another 1/2 tablespoon, stir it in until the entire 2.5 tablespoons has been added. You're wanting your mixture to be textured and you're wanting it to be slightly sticky. You want your mixture to stick together really well so you can have a firm center for your peanut butter bar. Once the mixture is all stirred together and you have a slightly sticky center, then use your fingers and press the mixture into a firm ball. If it seems like your mixture is not sticking together in a ball, then add just a tiny bit more of the honey substitute. You don't want to add too much because you don't want to have a wet center, but you do want to make sure that your center has enough moisture in it to stick together. Then massage it in your hands just for about 20 seconds. This is just to make sure that everything is sticking together really well and that it won't crumble apart on you. The amount of honey substitute that you might need can vary depending on what type of peanut butter you use. Some peanut butters are not quite as oily as other peanut butters, and so you might possibly have to use just a tiny bit more honey. But for me, the 2.5 tablespoons there was perfect. Once it's all mixed together and you have a firm textured center, place the peanut butter ball into your prepared loaf pan, dampen your hands just slightly, and press the peanut butter mixture out to an even rectangle of about 4 inches by 6 inches. Make sure you keep it as even as possible. Now this recipe does make small bars, so if you're wanting bigger bars or you're wanting more bars, you can always double this recipe and use an 8 by 8 inch cake pan rather than a 4 by 6 inch loaf pan if you're wanting bigger bars. That's entirely up to you. I like the small bars personally. So once it's pressed evenly out to a 4 by 6 rectangle, place it in the freezer for about 10 minutes or just until the mixture has firmed up. While that's in the freezer, line a medium cookie sheet with parchment paper and set that aside. Once your peanut butter rectangle has firmed up, remove it from the freezer, then grasp the overhanging parchment paper and lift the peanut butter slab out of the loaf pan and gently place it on a clean cutting surface. Then cut the peanut butter slab into bars that are about 1 inch wide. You can make them bigger or smaller according to how big you want your peanut butter bars to be. But my bars I cut into rectangles that were about 1 inch by 4 inch rectangles. Once they're cut into bars, place them in a single layer on your prepared cookie sheet. Then freeze them for about 1 hour or until they are very firm. Now you don't have to worry about these freezing solid between the xanthan gum that is in our honey substitute and the oils that are in the peanut butter or the seed butter. These bars are not going to freeze solid, but you do want them to be firm. So let them stay in the freezer for about an hour. Once the bars have firmed up, remove them from the freezer and place about a half cup of keto chocolate chips in a shallow microwave safe bowl. Add about 1.5 tablespoons of coconut oil. Then microwave on high in 20 to 30 second intervals or until the chips are fully melted. Make sure you use a fork and stir the coconut oil and the chocolate chips together after every 20 to 30 second interval. You don't want your chocolate to burn, and you want to make sure you have a smooth chocolate mixture. Once your chocolate chips and coconut oil are fully melted and combined, place the peanut butter bars one at a time into the melted chocolate chips and use 2 forks to carefully turn the peanut butter bar several times in the chocolate to thoroughly coat the peanut butter with the melted chocolate. Make sure you do this carefully. They are still a little bit fragile until the chocolate hardens, so be very careful when you are turning the peanut butter bars. Once they're fully coated, place the coated bars back onto your lined baking sheet and place them back in the freezer for another 20 minutes or until the chocolate is firm. Once they've firmed up, remove them from the freezer, place them on a serving tray. If you do have any extra chocolate around the edges, you can always take a knife and just trim off any extra chocolate. Sometimes it puddles up around the edges of the bar and you have a little bit of chocolate lip on the side. You can always just trim that off if you want to. If you do have any leftovers, store them in an airtight container in the freezer. You can keep them in the refrigerator, but they won't stay as crispy. They will still have a little bit of crisp to them, but not as much as if you store them in the freezer. You don't want to store these at room temperature because the chocolate will melt. So if you store them in the refrigerator, they'll last for about 5 days. If you store them in the freezer, they'll last for about a month. So eat and enjoy. In a medium saucepan over medium heat, combine 1 cup of water, a half cup of golden monk fruit sweetener or brown sugar sweetener of your choice, and 1/8 teaspoon of salt. Whisk these all together until they're fully combined and the mixture has come to a low boil. Make sure you continually whisk this. You don't want the sweetener scorching on the bottom. You want it to dissolve, so continuously whisk it until it comes to a low boil. Keep continuously whisking the mixture and gradually add a half teaspoon of xanthan gum, a little at a time, and allow it to whisk in and dissolve after each addition. So you just sprinkle in a little bit, whisk it, make sure it dissolves well, sprinkle in a little bit more, whisk it, make sure it dissolves well, until the entire half teaspoon of xanthan gum has been added. Once the xanthan gum is fully added, then whisk vigorously for about 30 seconds or until the xanthan gum and the sweetener is fully dissolved and you have a smooth mixture. You want to make sure everything is fully and completely dissolved. Once everything is smooth, allow the mixture to simmer without whisking for about 3 minutes or until the mixture begins to thicken slightly. It's not going to be super thick yet, but it will thicken up. Once it's simmered for 3 minutes, you should have a mixture that's more of a thin syrup. It's not going to be the honey texture yet. Right now, it's going to be more of a syrupy texture. So you should have a little bit of thickness to it, but it's not going to be thickened up all the way yet. Remove it from the heat and add 1 teaspoon of maple extract or honey flavoring. Continue to whisk the honey substitute and gradually add in another half teaspoon of xanthan gum, a little at a time, again, just small amounts at a time, whisking it in after each addition. Once the entire half teaspoon of xanthan gum has been added and whisked in, then again whisk it vigorously for about another minute or until everything is fully combined and you have a smooth, thick mixture. Once you've whisked it and your mixture is thick, spoon it into a mason jar or an airtight container and allow it to cool completely at room temperature before putting the lid on it. This will thicken up more as it cools, so as it cools you'll be feeling it getting more and more of that thick honey texture. So make sure you allow it to cool completely before you put the lid on it. You could store it at room temperature for up to 1 month, or you can store it in your refrigerator for an indefinite amount of time. It stays for a long time in your refrigerator. You can put this on toast or biscuits or use it in any recipe that calls for honey. Eat and enjoy. And that's our recipe of the day. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did and you want to see more videos like this, make sure you click that thumbs up like button, click that subscribe button, leave me a comment if you want to. Let me know if there's any recipes that you'd like to learn how to make, and I'll do what I can to get those out there for you. And as always, keep cooking.